Hey guys, Brian Williams with Perspectivity. Listen, been asked to talk to you about training. Now, I'm a professional sales trainer, and I'm going to share with you what I learned when I started the company. Now, one of the things that I found interesting is I did this research, and Harvard Business Review says that there's $15 billion spent every year training salespeople. That is a massive amount of money. But here's what's more interesting. Take a look at this. Corporate Executive Board researched 4 million business professionals and only found that 17% of them scored high enough to qualify for insight selling, which is the modern way that we sell today. Now take a look at that. $15 billion being spent, but only 17% even qualify for insight selling. There's a reason for that. Not only will I share the reason with you, I'm going to share with you how to avoid falling into this trap so you don't waste money training your sales team as well. Take a look. Another study showed that about 50% of the content of a sales training event is lost about 5 weeks after the event is done. So we're spending a lot of money on travel, flying in, consultants, trainers, etc. There's fancy material, slide, all those things are happening. About a month afterwards, half of it is gone. And if you go another month, even more of that information is lost as well. There's a reason for that. And that's exactly why before I started the company, I was reading books like this, Made to Stick by the Heath brothers, the 6 principles that make information stick to the brain. Because if we can't retain the information, we can't apply it. Another one is Why Don't Students Like School by Daniel T. Williams. Check it out. A cognitive scientist answers questions about how the mind works and what it means for the classroom. Another book that I couldn't find a copy of, I see it's around here somewhere, was Dr. Norman Doidge's book. I forgot the name of the book, the title of the book. The Brain That Changes Itself. The Brain That Changes Itself talks about neuroplasticity, again talking about how does the brain learn and retain information. I'm going to share it with you right now. And this applies to anything that you're going to be learning. Take a look. It's called the cone of learning. This says after 2 weeks, we tend to remember based on how we learn. Okay? Take a look. Confucius. I see and I forget. I hear and I remember, but I do and I understand. That's the key. So at the top of the pyramid, after 2 weeks after we learn some information, 10%, we remember 10% of it if all we do is read. Okay, if you just read, 2 weeks later, you will only retain about 10%. You remember 20% if you hear it, if someone's just talking to you, audiobooks, things like that. 30% of what you see, right? Maybe a movie, a video. 50% if you see it and hear it, that's more of a video. If you see it and hear it, you retain 70% 2 weeks later if you're saying it yourself. But check this out. That increases to 90% if you say it and do it. That's what makes the information stick to the brain. And most training organizations is just giving a wealth of information, videos and online courses, tutorials, etc. Listen, when your parents were teaching you how to ride a bike or fly a kite, I'm sure they sent you to the library and had you watch videos on bike riding and kite flying, right? Of course not. You went to the park, man. And you went to the driveway. That's exactly what we have to do in sales because sales is tough. That's why only 17% qualified for insight selling. What am I trying to say? Don't waste money on any kind of training unless you're getting involved. You got to do it. Roll up your sleeves and get it done. This is Brian Williams, and this has been your Daily Perspective.